Good morning. It's Angela Vaya with the Indian American Chamber of Commerce Treasurer, and welcome to the iTalks series. Today, our guest is the Mayor of Winter Park, Mr. Phil Anderson. We do thank him for being with us today. A couple of things that I would like to address as housekeeping before we start. Thanking, first of all, our sponsors. Without you and our members, we would not be able to sustain the chamber. So thank you for all you do. The Magic, Fairwinds, Walgreens, Orlando Health, we thank you for your support, as well as our additional sponsors and members. We do have our next business after hours coming up on June 17th at 6 p.m. at the new Ferrari of Central Florida location. Our last business after hours in person was a huge success with over 120 members and sponsors in person. We do wish for you to definitely join us at the event. Additionally, the iTalk series will be featuring Kane Sims. He is a influencer in the AI sector, and we will be sending some more information out on that. And we look forward to having you present with that as well. I would now like to introduce our guest speaker today, our Mayor, Phil Anderson from Winter Park. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
I'd like to say a little bit of it. Yes.
No, I just wanted to say hello and thank you for letting me join. And hopefully the internet service will stay intact for this presentation. I do have a backup plan if needed. So thank you.
Perfect. Mayor, first of all, congratulations on your elections and we're very happy, as I reside in Winter Park, to have you as our mayor. Just a little bit of an introduction about Mayor Phil Anderson. He is the founding partner and chief investment officer of Bridge Seniors Housing, was the chief operating officer of CNL Retirement Properties, had worked with as a senior VP with Hyatt's Classic Residence by Hyatt Retirement Communities, and by profession is a civil engineer. He was our Winter Park City Commissioner from 2008 to 2011, and a board member and finance chair of Legacy Point at UCF. We, of course, having looked at the recent elections in Winter Park, we congratulate you and are very happy and excited to have you as our mayor. And I, would like for you to additionally say a little bit more about yourself and speak about the platforms and the initiatives currently going on in Winter Park.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being able to join you and for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to talk to those folks that are deeply ingrained in our commercial side of Winter Park and frankly, the region. And I appreciate that as both a business person in sort of a large scale area, as well as a small business person. I really have a passion for making sure our commerce and our institutional partners thrive. I was elected in March, and I was elected in March on really a message that was pretty simple and pretty clear. And the first message was to serve the people who live and work in Winter Park. And we do that by making sure that we protect our role in the region, that of really the hometown of Central Florida, something that has historic charm. It is unique in the experience that you have when you come into our downtown core, or if you live in Winter Park. It's very unique in the region. And that's part of the unique, or that's part of our role, is to make sure that when people think of a historic downtown district, they think of Winter Park as a place to shop, as a place to work, and as a place to live. I think our second thing in my messaging was really about positioning us as a partner, positioning the city as a partner to our commercial enterprises as well as our institutions to make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that we come out of this COVID-19 experience stronger and very well prepared to thrive as part of a really major growing region. And the last part is to be very responsible with our tax dollars and to spend our money in a responsible and a responsive way. We have a great, well-managed city in front of us. We have a lot of things that go really well for the city of Winter Park financially. And we also have some major initiatives in front of us. And so allocating the capital in terms of where our priorities are, those were the three legs of my platform and why I think they resonated so well with the residents of Winter Park. I'm going to step back a minute and talk really about the business and the commercial partnerships and the institutional partnerships that we have. As a business person, as a leader of several companies, generally finance and real estate companies, I really follow what happens on the national economic stage. And, I was a commissioner here when we went through the Great Recession. I'm pleased to be serving here as we're coming out of this recession. And I pay a lot of attention to what the lessons are that COVID-19 has taught us. And fortunately for Winter Park, we're poised to really come out strong. But some of the lessons that we learned from COVID-19 are we really need to invest in our infrastructure. We have fantastic water, we have great transportation services, but our information highway is something that we need to invest in. As many of you know, we made a commitment years ago to buy our power company and have undergrounded a lot of our electric utilities and are in the process of doing that to harden that system to make sure it is fail safe and we continue to deliver electrical service in all kinds of climate and weather. But we need to do the same thing in terms of our internet service. We've already got a little bit of a head start. We've partnered with a local provider to bring fiber optic speed and capability into our core business area. And one of my goals is to expand that level of service so it's an opportunity for everyone who has a business or a home here in Winter Park that they can grow with that. But that's really where I, what I bring to the table and what our ambitions are for the next 3 years during my term. We've got a great city manager, a good staff, and we have a good partnership with the other 4 commissioners. I think we see things generally in the same way. Protect the city's charm, make sure that the quality of life that we all really wanted to see when we chose to either live here or set up our businesses here, it remains, that we're investing for the future and that we're partnering with our institutions and with our commercial business partners to make it very, very successful. That's really why I'm here. That's what gets me up in the morning to serve our residents. You did a great job introducing my personal background. I'm a civil engineer, really a construction guy, a real estate guy who turned into a finance person along the way. I've led several real estate finance enterprises, and I think it's a great background to bring. I will add on a personal interest basis, I've lived here for over 22 years, but I grew up in Manila, Philippines, and spent much of my childhood in Manila. And so I bring to bear a pretty global point of view of what it takes for economies to thrive, particularly in this metropolitan area. We are so tied in with the global economy for what happens in Orange County, what happens in the city of Orlando. And while Winter Park is a very small piece of that, we really thrive on that macroeconomic environment. And I'll sit back and happy to answer
Yes,
any questions or dig a little deeper.
absolutely.
And I'll turn it over to Julie.
Yes. So, I mean, being a Winter Park resident, one of the biggest issues for me was to protect that charm, that you talk about, and the culture and the history, and that we have over here, versus developing every single space. There's a fine balance between development and protecting the environment and the culture and the history of Winter Park. And that fine balance is always the challenge. And that's something that we've seen in Winter Park. Our residents are very passionate, which is a great thing. And we do see that on the business front as well. One of the questions I did have for you is, I know with COVID, we do have a lot of businesses from the chamber that are in Winter Park, from healthcare, from doctors to restaurants. We actually have some of our top 3 restaurants that are on Park Avenue and in the Hannibal Square, which of course saw some challenges through COVID. And as you walk through Park Avenue and some of Hannibal and Orlando, you do see some open retail space available. Is there any plan from the city's perspective of diversifying and bringing in new businesses or new sectors into Winter Park? What would your thought processes be on that?
That's great. And I'll jump down into the specifics of your question about, what are the plans for the city to recruit new businesses, and what's the city's role in setting the stage for this recovery? And I'll digress for a minute in saying that, as I was campaigning, what I found were residents were really unified over their vision for the city. And, we talk about charm, we talk about quality of life, but when you knock on hundreds and thousands of doors in a campaign, what resonates is a strong consistency of what that vision should be. Taking that vision, though, and expressing it in pictures and images is something that the city can do a much better job with. And that is part of what we're doing over the most recent, really 12 months, and will continue, is putting a visual library together of what that charm really means. And I think that will take some of the mystery and tension out of how to achieve really great compatible development and redevelopment that's consistent with our years and the 140-year history and the charm. But going straight into, what is the city's role in helping our business economy thrive? We recently were allocated capital coming out of the American Rescue Act, and we've set aside at least $300,000 and perhaps more to jump into initiatives to make sure our Park Avenue district, as well as our surrounding business districts, have the financial resources to really recruit new things. I've charged our Economic Development Advisory Board with coming up with strategies to do that. We also have already got a work plan in place of digging deeper and coming up with a more targeted approach towards recruiting businesses that are compatible with the existing businesses that are here. So we've set aside the funding, and we're continuing with what that means. On the other side of what the city really, really can do well, it's really about making sure that our public spaces are pristine and clean and prepared for seasonal shopping. And it sounds like, very detailed things, but it's, we will win the battle of the Christmas lights this year. We want to come into downtown Winter Park and to have the experience of a small town, that they may not get in other parts of Orange County. And we can have a major impact on making that a really positive experience. We'll make sure it's clean. We saw that during COVID, our public spaces, our Central Park and other parks had a lot of utilization, and it needed more manpower and more prioritization to make sure that those presented well. So we'll continue to do that. We'll be focused on what it means going into the seasonal work. And we've also, allocated some funds for our director of, business development to have at his disposal to really target businesses that will work for Winter Park. Generally speaking, our vacancy rate is much lower than, the county in general. We're very, very pleased with that. I think there's a couple of new announcements that have perked out. There's a new occupant targeted for the prime space right in the heart of downtown, kitty corner from the Park Plaza Hotel, the former Luma location. So we're excited to see that taking place. And I trust that some of our other vacancies on Park Avenue in particular are going to start being filled out as the economy comes back. But we do have resources to help target businesses that will be compatible with our existing businesses. Does that answer your question, Anjali?
Yes, it does. Also, spinning off of that, the library and the event center that has come a long ways because I live very close to it, and it's really coming together, looking beautiful. And I wanted to see what the dates were on and what the process was, just for our members and our sponsors to be involved with such a great space in case somebody is looking for an event in the future. I'm quite sure Winter Park would love to host our members and sponsors. So if we could get an update on that.
Sure. The brand new library and event center represents a major investment by the citizens of Winter Park. And I will say that right now we're slated to have a grand opening in December, January, or really December, assuming things stay on track. We are starting to take reservations for events in the world-class event center. And there are tours available even as we're finishing construction on Thursday afternoons through Sabrina Bernat, who heads up our library. She coordinates, advanced tours of both the library building as well as the event center, and we can certainly tailor tours around that. But I think what you're going to find is a phenomenal space with really avant-garde architecture on the inside as well as the outside. But it's more than the architecture too. One of the things that the city did with its American Rescue funds is we have backstopped the city's library and event center's budget. We've allocated over $800,000 to go into making sure that our operations are ready to go on the day that we open. Certainly the opportunities for contributions to the library and to the event center are out there, but the city's doing its part using the American Rescue Act funds to make sure that, as we come into the recovery period and as capital donations rebound, we're in a position to open up, really full speed ahead on the day we open, coming in December. So all things being, assuming things stay on track, that's really where we're targeting. We actually have already booked our first wedding and our first class reunion for the first quarter of next year. So there's a good deal of confidence that, we'll get through the soft opening and we'll be full-fledged, ready to run at the beginning of next year.
Well, to all of our members in the Indian American Chamber, our weddings are like 7-day events and quite enormous in budget and in style. So, for anybody that, is looking, Winter Park as it is a gorgeous city, and having this additional space, to all of our members, definitely check out this new event center. It is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm sure it'll be hosting some very grand events as well as, creating new business opportunities for Winter Park in the future. Another, one of the questions that had come up is, I know Winter Park had recently gotten a $13 million stimulus, and I know that the commission was contemplating on spending that a lot of it on the museums and the arts and the gardens. And there's a lot of talk about that, and I just wanted to see what your position was on that. I know part of it was also talking about adding to the infrastructure on traffic and smart city. So I wanted to just discuss that slightly as well, because I know there's a lot of issues on the traffic situation, and I'm sure it just increases more as we're opening up in these new days, and with the whole I-4 expansion as well. So I just kind of wanted to kind of briefly talk about that as well, on what is the future, and how that $13 million in your vision might be best spent for the city, and again, keeping in mind the residents and the quality of life.
Well, thank you very much. We City of Winter Park was fortunate to be awarded $13 million under the American Rescue Act funding to be used to create, to make up shortfalls and to do sort of a first round infrastructure investment. There may be another round of infrastructure investment coming out of Washington, D.C., but that's something for the future. So we, as a commission, the 5 commissioners, with guidance from our city manager and our staff, have already come through a first round of allocation for those fundings. I mentioned earlier that one of the fundings is going to go into business retention and recovery. Another funding is going into our cultural and arts groups, including the allocations for the library, as well as a number of other local 501c3 cultural nonprofits that we've traditionally supported. But when you look at, so in terms of operational support, we've already earmarked a pretty good size amount of money, to a pretty sizable funding to go into those operational needs of various organizations. When you look at the other side, the capital investment, we've allocated a pretty significant amount of capital investment to go in really 3 or 4 key areas. One is our traffic infrastructure. Where can we make improvements to intersections? Where can we make traffic calming improvements? So that's one area it's going into. The other is, what has come out of COVID is that we really use our public areas and our park spaces. So we'll see some significant investments coming out of that funding source into our parks and public spaces. And then the last part is into our infrastructure. We're looking for ways to accelerate, as I mentioned before, finding ways to get fiber optic and better internet service into certainly our commercial cores as well as our residential areas. So those are the big things that we've earmarked that $13 million for. We have general agreement within the City Commission, agreement that we reached about a month and a half ago, that allocated those into the broader buckets. And today where we are is we're filtering that out into more of the specifics, and we'll be seeing how those specific funding needs are distributed over the next 2 years. Those funds will be coming in over a 2-year period. And so we're scaling to how much will go into this fiscal year versus the next fiscal year. But I'd be happy to provide any details of that, or send you to the meeting minutes from one of those meetings from that workshop that sort of gives you the itemized listing. Great.
No, that's great, because I think, as new businesses and as new people, come into Winter Park, it's important for them to realize that, Winter Park is in a very good position right now in the future with its reserves, as well as allocating these funds, again, demonstrating that a lot of it is going towards a specific, is really going towards the quality of our lives, and that, this commission, as well as yourself, is really looking at that as one of the main factors as it surrounds itself on working through the future. One last question that I have is, while you were on the campaign, you and I had spoken quite a bit about diversity and inclusiveness in Winter Park. And, one of the things that I took to, as you and I had engaged in the past was your, that you did grow up, from the missionary in the Philippines, and that you came with a very global perspective, with experience, hands-on experience that very few have. Just kind of like myself, coming in from Central Africa, from Zambia, you have a very different experience and set when you go through something in life. And that was something that I really took to. So I just wanted to, circle back to that, because the Indian American Chamber is always advocating diversity and inclusiveness, not only in business, but also in culture, and exposing Orange County as well as the cities, exploring and teaching them about the different cultures, because in business, whether we like it or not, we're engaging with people from all over the world. And so I wanted to see, how your views are, as now you are our mayor, on actually encouraging more of that, and of course having us as a Chamber of Commerce involved with you as well in the future, as you might do something to bring that sector of the cultural side, and having it as a presence in Winter Park.
Well, thank you very much. And actually, I think back on that coffee discussion, very fondly, and something that is, kind of at the core of who many of us really are. I'm really excited to say that, some of that commitment to diversification and diversity, not just of gender or of ethnicity or of experience level, has come through with a lot of the appointments that have been made to the citizen advisory boards over the last year, certainly my appointments and prior commission's appointments. Ever since we changed the way that we appoint those boards, I think you've seen a lot of opportunity expand for a variety of folks that had never really felt that they could serve in the city. They now have the ability, they now have the access, and we now get the benefit of their experience in serving the city. And I think we've done a really good job in the last 2 years expanding what that looks like for the city of Winter Park. I also look at the fact that we're a 140-year-old community. And most of Central Florida, was planted at a very specific time in history, in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. We aren't that way. We were formed 140 years ago, and we've had the great experience of doing it in sort of a messy way. You started out with a very progressive town when it was founded in the late 1800s. A lot of historic communities were founded. Over 140 years, you've added more communities that have had their own flavor. And so in some ways, Winter Park is unique in Central Florida in that it's grown up organically. And so you end up with people with different experiences, different incomes, different backgrounds. And I think it offers an area where people from all kinds of backgrounds can come and feel comfortable. And we all have to get through we all have to go through the historic reality of where our country has been. But I believe that Winter Park is better than most in being poised to take advantage of 140 years of organic evolution to really absorb and to draw in people with all kinds of income, all kinds of ethnicity, and all kinds of backgrounds into a small community that looks and feels and behaves like a little village. And that's part of what excites me about Winter Park. It's what attracted me here. It's what keeps me here. And I think it's what keeps us unique and different and open to, ideas and really everything any different culture can provide. So I think it's one of our strengths. And I hope we do a much better job, that the last year and a half is just the beginning of doing a better job in giving everybody the opportunity to get engaged, regardless of gender, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of your economic position. You have the opportunity to do something in Winter Park.
That is a great message, because I know you and I had spoken about this quite extensively. And to any of our viewers listening today, if you want to be engaged in the community or you want to do something, this commission is definitely ready for us to help out. And just like the mayor says, it takes a whole village to make the city happen. So I know, for the most part, Winter Park residents are very, very, very they're very vocal, and we're very passionate about the city we live in. And having this commission actually embrace diversity really is very encouraging as we go on into the next years. And I myself have definitely seen that change in just in the short few months that that we've had have had you as mayor. So thank you for that. If there's any questions or anything else that you would like to add to our members or sponsors, please let us know. And I know one of our restaurants, which is our sponsor, Tabla, definitely encouraged you to definitely stop by and try out the Indian cuisine. We'd love to have you at one of our events. We actually have a business after hours at Ferrari and many more, including our gala. And we hope to have you and your commissioners be present and to continue this partnership that we have started on really working together, even in Orange County, and furthering our resources to do more.
Great. Well, I'll make one comment and two comments. Number one is, Anjali, thank you for serving on our CRA advisory board. As many of you know, in Winter Park, the CRA has been a major engine of growth, and we're going to go through some evolution in the next 2 or 3 years. So we're excited to have Anjali and her deep history with the role of tourism in the region as helping to serve in that advisory board. And I think the other thing is that all of the commissioners, myself included, are happy to chat at any time. We're very accessible, and just reach out through City Hall, and they can find us and get us, and we'd be love to have a cup of coffee. And we'll make a point to visiting the restaurant over there on New England. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just as a closing, I did want to remind our viewers today that the Indian American Chamber of Commerce has taken a very active initiative in response to the India COVID-19 crisis. We do have a donation campaign right now, and we have collected close to a pallet of items that will be shipped to India, hopefully by the end of this month. We have some donation items that we are collecting, including oxygen cylinders, concentrators, ventilators, PPE gear, hygiene kits, and more. You can find the information on www.iaccorlando.com. We are looking for some funds as well in case you can't, give us the items. We do have resources to purchase them, and as mentioned, we will be shipping this out by the end of the month. I'd also like to thank Mont Blanc for having joined us on helping us with this initiative on Father's Day. From all of their sales, they will be donating 10% to this relief fund that we have started. Again, the Indian American Chamber of Commerce is here as a community to strive together in unity, helping Orange County and cities like Winter Park grow. We're always here to be a partner. And again, thank you, Mayor Anderson, for having taken the opportunity to engage with our business owners as well as our members today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.